Hello and welcome back to everyone, Respect, and to another edition of NXT Out of 10. And yeah, very big episode of NXT this week, because of course last week we got that big ladder match where Joe Hendry became NXT champion. So we got all of the fallout from that, and then we also got some big matches as well, including multiple number one contenders matches. But we started things off with what went down last week when Joe Hendry made his way to the ring, celebrating his title win. He began by thanking the crowd for believing in him as "you deserve it" chants. Started. He said he had a moment of doubt during the match, but the crowd gave him the energy to climb the ladder and win. Jackson Drake and Vanity Project came out to interrupt the promo, much to the dismay of the crowd in attendance. They admitted they were the ones who attacked Hendry, which led to a fight. The champ almost had everyone taken care of when Drake hit a chop block to take him down. The Evolved talents took Hendry down and ended the segment standing tall. Hendry's promo was decent, but the fight that followed felt like a step backwards for him. He's a top champion in NXT and shouldn't be feuding with other top stars, not newcomers. From Evolve, in my opinion. Before we moved on to the first match of the show, which saw Jada Baker take on Blake Monroe, Miss Parker gave a quick backstage promo before heading to ring and looked ready for the fight. Parker went right after Monroe when she got to him, but Monroe was able to get some kicks into the upper hand and cornered her for some kicks to the body. The match wasn't pretty, but they brought a lot of enthusiasm to the ring. They were a speed to a couple moments looking less than ideal, but they lacked in smoothness, what they made up for in aggression. Monroe's great at playing the egotistical heel, and Parker always adapted well to being a babyface. In a lot of ways, they are ideal rivals for each other because of their differences. Both women ended up being cancelled out, but they continued to fight until Parker took out several members of the security team while Monroe escaped through the crowd. A double count out's never how you want to end the match, but it made it clear their feud will continue. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. As we then moved on to Josh Briggs versus Eli Knight in a speed tournament. Obviously, the usual 3-minute time limit. The big man took control early, but the high flyer made a comeback, one with a huge moonsault in about 2. This was a short to be match of anything, but the way it ended was cool. Jasper Knight ended up attacking Knight and Eli LaFleur after the match and took them both out. Knight and LaFleur will fight for a shot at Troy's Speed Championship next week, so having them easily get taken out by champions seemed like a bit of an odd choice. And obviously, with it being so short, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Before Keanu Carver was shown having destroyed an area backstage and several superstars. At the same time, Kalani Jordan attacked Lola Vice and made her hand injury worse. Before Darkseid was out to give a promo, Linux promised to go after Hendry in the NXT title before Cutler James focused on Tony D. Orestes Scriven and Shooting Sugars spoke about the culling coming out after the tag titles. Spears and Vance appeared in the crowd and said they would win the titles before the lights dropped. OTM showed up, and when the lights came back on, they said they would be the champs. Hank and Tank came out to express their desire for a title shot. The former champs fought through the current champs, and out of nowhere, Tony D appeared and took out 2 members of the segment. The segment wasn't overly long and set up several potential matches down the line, but it was also kind of a mess. WWE seems to be leaning into the chaos comment Shawn Michaels made last week, for better or for worse. We then got Joe Hendry versus Jackson Drake. Hendry didn't even have a week after winning the NXT title before he was thrust into his first defence against Drake. The up-and-coming star hit a dropkick and a swanton immediately for a 2. Hendry was able to recover and took control as Swipe Right tried to cheer on Drake through him ringside. Drake distracted the ref so his friends could send Hendry into the steel steps, but the ref ended up seeing it and ejecting him from ringside. Other than the shenanigans at ringside, a solid match that gave Hendry an easy first defence while also giving Drake a chance to stand out. Hendry won, but it was probably the best Drake looks goal. Really, Heath Saints attacked and obviously posed with the title, setting up the next feud, which I'm excited by. Overall, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to Hank and Tank versus Swipe Right, and yeah, Baylor and Smokes played good heels against their babyface opponents, but when Hank and Tank, having been announced as part of the NXT number one contenders match next week, it seemed kind of inevitable. The bout had the crowd chanting and cheering, but the others team had that lot on energy. The match was relatively average. We didn't see anything exciting, and it felt like Hank and Tank should have been put against much more dominant against 2 smaller competitors. The last few minutes picked up steam before Drake showed up to help Swipe Right cheat to get the win. I mean, kind of unsurprising what we saw in the previous segment that Drake would come out and help them, and yeah, that's kind of what we got. 5 out of 10. We then got Zaruka taking on Ren QCC in the main event, and yeah, whoever won got a title shot against JC Jane. Graham Ricker started a fast-paced exchange before Sinclair tagged in for a double team attack. The crowd seemed to be on Ren's and Kendall's side, but Sol and Zarya had some good reactions. Zarya kept tagging herself in because she was desperate to earn the world title match, but her arguments with Ricker allowed Ren QC to take advantage of them being distracted. It had some great spots and told a story that it was easy for them to be the best thing on the show, especially when Graham and Ricker were in the ring together. They seemed to have the most chemistry. Ricker ended up getting getting the win to become number one contender, which clearly upset Zarya, as Fatal Infants came out to confront Ruka. Zarya stared daggers at her partner. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. Kind of an interesting stipulation, and yeah, intrigued to see where it will go. Moving on into the overall grade, and yeah, for me, it gets a 5 out of 10. It can fluctuate, and I think this was about as middle as it gets. The main event was decent, so was Hendry and Drake, but there wasn't really anything that stood out for any specific reason. Hopefully sets them up for an interesting show next week, though. It just kind of feels like the brand's maybe trying to find a new identity with all of the recent career ups, really. So that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on our socials. Link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.